Marc Steinberg. He's MCC coach from Greece, and he today the last presenter, the last but not the least. So, Marc, you are kindly welcome.
Thank you very much. Is my audio clear?
Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. So thank you and welcome everyone to this wonderful conference. Acknowledgement and appreciation to the organizers. And I'm sure that people who have already listened to the other speakers have taken great value already away from it. So hopefully I'm not repeating too much and can add and possibly go deeper into the subject of presence. And that is my theme as well. So let me just get the screen sharing. Okay, here we go. Just give me a moment. Okay. All right, so we say presence as the silent and ultimate bridge. What does that mean? Okay, so I'm basically coaching now since 30 years. And as you hear from my accent, I'm born in Germany. And I deliberately don't say that I'm a German, because that would be a very unconscious statement. You are not a Russian. You are born in a territory that today is called Russian Federation, but you are born as a human being. The greatest obstacles for the world in general and in coaching as well is national identification. The identification happens by conditioning, by education. It happens automatically in childhood. There's nothing we can do. We are conditioned to that what the cultural belief systems are. We absorb them as children and we become that. So national identifications are the cause for differences in nationalities, which ultimately, on a very unconscious level, lead to war. In coaching, national or cross-cultural coaching, so to speak, national identifications are an obstacle. And the coach is asked to be the first one to drop it. But there are not only national identifications, there are also religious identifications, social identifications, racial identifications, gender identifications. So one of the greatest things a coach can accomplish is to get rid of all the identifications. And the more identifications you become aware of and you are able to disidentify from, the more you become the state of pure awareness. And pure awareness, as you will see, is presence. So the more you are in your identifications, you are not available. And when you come with an identification to the client, when you meet the client, it doesn't matter whether it's face-to-face or whether it's on the phone. The client's identity, the client's personality or ego, immediately their defense mechanism goes on standby, because only identifications can cause conflict. A person without identification doesn't cause in another person their defense mechanism going on standby, which is then not allowing full contact. Yeah? You know from your own experience that when a person is strongly identified, either you feel you cannot make contact because they are in their own world and it's difficult to reach them, to make human contact, or vice versa. If you are in your own la la land, in your own world, then it's very difficult to reach you. So this is one of the main things also on your spiritual journey. I hope everyone is on one, to become aware of identification and eventually to work and to drop them. So when two people meet, when the coach and the client meet, again, it doesn't matter face-to-face or over the phone, then what is happening? Well, there are two bodies. If you are on a video on Skype, then there is body language. There are two minds, and the minds and the brain are connected to memory where there is conditioning. And in the conditioning, we find the differences. Because everybody is unique, everybody has a different past, everybody has different experiences, and so on and so forth. And when we go beyond that, then we enter the world of awareness, of presence. It's great if you know diplomacy. It's great if you know tools when you are meeting on the level of conditioning. Most coaches, especially in the beginning, will have no other choice to meet the client on that level. And on that level, all the tools are great. Diplomacy is wonderful. However, it's not necessary to remain on that level. You can go beyond conditioning. And that's then where presence comes into the picture. See, when you have eye contact with a person, or when you have a strong presence on the phone, not even having eye contact, then a connection happens. And in that connection, the possibility of rapport, of contact happens. And the more contact there is, the more transmission happens. Transmission is a phenomenon that happens automatically in contact. You don't need to do transmission. And in transmission in coaching means that the state of presence of the coach is transmitted to the client. The client, when become more present, becomes more present of their inner thoughts and emotions. And that's what you want as a coach. Because when the client is not aware of the inner thoughts and emotions, what are you going to do? You are probably shifting into mentoring, into taking over the lead to cause some difference, which is not coaching. So it's critical that this connection is established. And you can establish, as I said already, on the level of conditioning. That's great. And you can go beyond it on the level of presence. And awareness and presence are the same thing. Awareness is a state of consciousness. If you are aware of the mind, of the thoughts and emotions, you are already on a great level, because most people are not aware of their thoughts and emotions, only sometimes. Especially when there's pain, when there's conflict, then they become maybe a little bit more aware of what's going on inside. But if you are a person of awareness and you are consistently not only aware of your five senses, but also aware of the internal movement of thought and emotion, then you have already achieved the first level of awareness. The second level is then being aware of your awareness. So on the next slide, I covered all of that already. We have different bodies, different experiences, different body language, etc., etc. Let's go deeper. Awareness, different awareness. So the sensations of the five senses, the thoughts and emotions, that's the first level. Awareness is still, it is a space in which we are aware of what we are aware of. Cool. And when we are aware of your awareness, we become present. Now, you may have a different experience, interpretation of presence, that when you are aware of your awareness, then you are present. Because then there is complete presence in the here and now, because you're not with any part of yourself in your head, in your la la land. Let's do a little experiment now. Are you ready for that? It will take only 3 minutes, as you can read. And I'm asking you to do two things. First one is watch your mind and be aware of your body. The input from your five senses, your thoughts, and your emotions. And then, when you have established that, watch the watcher. Become aware of your awareness. Let's do that. Just try to first become aware of your mind, of your body, of your breathing, of your feet, of the sound you may receive from your ears, of my voice, what you see, and then your thoughts and your emotions. Look out for them. Find them and simply become aware of it. Don't do anything with it. Let it just be there. Don't engage, don't resist. And once you are in that state, then watch the watcher become aware of your awareness. So, I'm gonna now stop speaking for 3 minutes. I'm gonna ready, steady, and go. By the way, you can do that with open or with closed eyes. It's up to you. If you got hijacked by your thoughts and emotions, come back and just continue the exercise. Okay, thank you. Come back. Well, I hope you haven't been gone. So let's debrief. Some of you may have experienced that you got hijacked by thoughts and emotions. It's kind of a habit to go on a world tour or to zap your favorite internal channels. You're unconscious. And then maybe you have come back to the exercise. And it was exactly 3 minutes. If it has felt like an eternity, then you haven't shifted to the second level. You didn't go to become aware of your awareness or to watch your awareness, to watch the one who is aware. And I'm going to get very practical with that in a moment. I just want you to get the foundation of what we are doing here, because otherwise presence is never the real deal. So maybe you had no problem with becoming aware of your body sensations and your thoughts and your emotions, but maybe it was difficult for you to now go to the next step, to watch your awareness, to become aware of your awareness. And this is a wonderful practice. The more you practice this, which I call real meditation, the more you become present. And in presence, we are all the same. That's the beautiful thing. There is no cross-culture anymore. In what we are aware of, in the content, we are all different. But in the state of being aware, we are all the same. A person of the Zulu culture is entirely different. I lived in South Africa, so I know what I'm talking about. They're entirely different. But if a person, a Zulu, is becoming aware and present, and if I'm present, so I'm not a German anymore, etc., then we both are completely in rapport, in communion. And on that level, there's no management of diplomacy and conflict and all the rest. It's all gone. We are having contact. That's why it is so beautiful. And in that moment, in that state, there's silence. In that presence, there's stillness. And in that stillness, you can receive. It's the sense open hand. There's space because you as an identity have disappeared. What is there is a space for the greater. And then your coaching is not derived from your knowledge any longer, but from the intelligence of the whole. Then we speak real mastery of coaching. And the ICF, by the way, is on the MCC level, asking and assessing the silence of the coach. If you're not silent and if you're not present in your silence, then you will not get the MCC stamp, because that is one of the criteria. Because in that silence and that presence, and you're not taking any space anymore as a coach, not thinking about what the next question is, not trying to analyze anything about the client, you're just there. In that space, the client becomes so big because the client can expand. And in that expansion, miracles happen. The client gets things and they realize things that is amazing. And you have the feeling as a coach, you don't do anything. And it really literally feels like that. It's effortless. And that's really the MCC level as far as I understand it. There's openness, there's availability, there's vulnerability also, and creativity. See, when I coach, I never prepare anymore. In the beginning, I did. You need to start somewhere, of course. I'm just present. The client tells me what I need to hear. Questions come not from my knowledge, not from my mind. They are just coming from my presence. It's almost like the client's higher self makes me his or her spokesperson. I hope that's not too far out to understand at least the philosophy of it. And maybe if you have really coached, you had those moments. And it's just to trust, shifting yourself into that state of presence. And then the guidance is automatically. And that's the most beautiful thing in the world. For the mind, it's scary. And the mind wants control. The mind says, but wait a minute, if I'm not connected to my knowledge, etc., no, forget it. Let the mind rest. Learn how to calm down the mind. Tell the mind, you're not needed for this session. Be present, and you'll see that everything that needs to happen will happen. It can even go as far as one of the greatest saints of India. I am right now in India on my annual holiday. One of the greatest saints is Ramana Maharishi. He has passed away, but he taught in silence. There were thousands of people gathering every day, and once in a while, maybe he took his index finger and pointed up. However, his teaching was in silence, and people walked away having gotten mini enlightenments, having gotten healing, having gotten insights, amazing results. That's why he became so popular. So that would be maybe the ultimate level, that you and the client don't exchange words anymore. I have to say, I'm not on that level of coaching, because the client is, they are coming from conditioning, and moments of silence for the client feel awkward by conditioning. You know it. When you are with your friends or with a person you are not very familiar with and you are silent, then the identity, the ego, is feeling awkward, and then you fill in the silence with words to have something. And that's probably what the client will do when you're saying, okay, let's start the coaching session, and you become silent. And when the client is then making noise and filling in the silence, etc., you can't remain in your silence. Otherwise, you're completely missing the point. So, but ultimately, it's a beautiful vision that would be the greatest state. So that silence is also something you need to allow for. And as you can see now in the slide, in presence you experience silence not as a sensation caused by the absence of sound, but as a state of being. It's very important to understand that. Most people think that silence is there's no noise anymore. But silence is literally a state of being. It is a stillness in which you can rest internally, while out of that silence you speak. It's absolutely possible. And it happens all the time when you are present. Let's do another experiment. So see if you can be silent internally for 1 minute. Really go for it. No noise inside, not mentally and not emotionally. Just try it. 1 minute. Go for it. 3, 2, 1, and let's start now. Thank you. Just notice what happened. Most likely, you didn't experience silence, but you became aware of what makes noise inside. Probably thoughts, maybe the internal voice or voices. And your effort of trying to shut them up is ignored by them. Did you recognize that? They don't care. They just go on and on and on and on. It's like, some people have difficulties to fall asleep because there's continuous jabbering between the ears going on. And then there's one voice trying to silence the other voices that's even more chattering, and you go until exhaustion, and then hopefully you fall asleep. So the many, many voices in the thought process internally being so active, not being able to be silent, has a cause. The cause is a whole different theme, which I cannot cover today. It's a cause that all the thoughts are coming from incomplete thoughts. You didn't think the thought to its very end. You didn't allow the emotion to be there until it is complete, because anything that is allowed to become complete will disappear. So if all your emotions and thoughts in the past would have been allowed to complete themselves, you would have no problem to be silent. So what you're going to do now, if you ask me that question, is, well, you need to go on a journey. You need to start completing the past. You need to start completing the future. That means all the unanswered questions. What's the meaning of life? What's my purpose? What's my soul's desire, etc., etc. All that are incomplete thoughts. It's easy to see, right, in the future. And in the past, it's like, should I have done that? Why didn't I do da, 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 you know, that kind of thing. So you need to complete the past. You need to complete the future. And you need to learn to act in the moment so completely that there are no residues left. Then when you go to bed at night, there's nothing what even could be there as a thought, because everything is complete. Yeah? So if you're interested in that journey, then just look out for taking it. If you're interested, at the end, I will show you where you can find contact material. But for the moment, just notice anything that happened when you try to be silent for 1 minute and acknowledge it. Don't make yourself wrong. Just say, interesting. The silence is a state of being. You are also experiencing life in a very, very different way. First of all, you are in the here and now, because presence is not in the past, not in the future. It is in the here and now. Everything you read in Eckhart Tolle's books, if you read them, will become a reality. You experience the 5 senses are working in a way you have no idea that you are able to, except you took some drugs. If you take drugs, acid, whatever, I didn't say you should, but if you did experiment with drugs, then you know that you are so much more able to experience altered states of reality. Suddenly the sky is bluer than blue, the palms are greener than green, everything is more vivid. And you feel alive, you feel energy. There's no effort anymore, no effort of being, no waiting, no boredom, nothing of that. Because the here and now, that's where life is. There is no boredom. There's just full aliveness. You want to dance physically, emotionally, mentally. You are alive. And
Mark, I'm extremely sorry to interrupt you, but we have some problems maybe with connection, and sometimes your picture is frozen. So I would like to ask you to switch off the video and stay with us and be present only with your voice. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. So I was almost finished with what I prepared as a presentation, and I'm happy to allow a little bit more time for attending to the questions. What I was saying before you asked me to switch off the video was that when you are present, you are also being rewarded with a different experience of life itself. And the vividness of the moment, the liberation you experience, the expansion you experience, and you take that wonderful state. And the one thing what is also present is love. And that state wants to be shared. Love wants to open up and invite existence to dance with you. And in this state, love is a reality. And then you will have no questions any longer about the purpose of your life, what to do, what is authenticity. All those questions are transformed by the presence of love. So that's where presence lives. That's where silence lives. That's where love lives. And that's where you can arrive when you get rid of what is between you and that space. You cannot go into that space with all the baggage and luggage, with all the incompletions. So from my personal experience, supporting people since 30 years on that journey of transformation, there is no way you can enter the land of the here and now with all the luggage you have when it's not complete. You need to have completed all that, and then the here and now is accessible. Maybe and hopefully you get a postcard from God, a postcard that there are moments where life is entirely different. You know what I'm talking about. Those moments came uninvited. You cannot make them come. They are just happening. And probably they happened a lot when you were younger, if you are already a little bit aged, sorry. But they happen usually when you are in your teenage years, early 20s, late 20s maybe, and then it gets a little bit less for other reasons. So those moments are the reference that there is an entirely different state of being, and that is the real presence. And as a coach, you can actually rest in that presence and share in the state of transmission, not in your words. You share by your being, your state. And this is causing transformation. And that's what the client needs in order to achieve their goals. They need to transform their fear, their doubts, their insecurities, their negative belief systems. I mean, you are a coach. You know what's in the way in the client's mind, body, emotional, physical, etc. System that needs to get out of the way. So with presence, you have much less work, so to speak, as a coach. You just let it happen. Okay, so that's it from my side. There should be a beautiful, my slide is not working anymore. Oh, here we go. Knowledge speaks, wisdom listens. So Jimi Hendrix, although he took a lot of drugs and is not with us anymore, but something he has realized. Good. Let's chat box.
Mark, do you need my help with a Q&A box?
Yeah, I had it yesterday when we did the into the.
Let me read it loud. The questions, okay?
Yeah.
So the first question is from Ayu, and she is interested in the name of Indian guru you mentioned.
Okay, Ramana Maharishi. Ramana Maharishi. If I would have the chat box, I would write it in. I still haven't found it. I'm sorry. I don't know where it is. I think I would need to probably stop the sharing. Hold up. Okay, I stopped the sharing for a moment, but I bring it back because here's all the information you may need to find that particular spot. Ah, okay, I see it.
Okay, so let me give you another question. The question is from Sandra. Mark, all your phrases are brilliant. From the one hand, it's very simple. From another hand, full of wisdom. How long time did you spend to find your true destination? And how did coaching affect it?
My journey started very early in my life, very early. However, my life was not an exception. I was brought up in the middle family, so neither poor nor rich, in Germany, and nothing special. However, internally, I went into a big crisis when I was 16. And out of that crisis, I decided that my goal is to find happiness. And I went on a spiritual journey of self-realization for the next 12 years until I reached my age of 30. And then I started to give trainings and retreats and all around transformation. That was in the early 90s. First training was in 1991 in Munich. And only in the late 90s, the word coaching became a worldwide asset. And then we called the way we interacted with people already in the early 90s, we called it coaching because everybody now was calling it coaching. So the whole journey I had for myself, I wrote in my book Sinclair. It's an autobiographic novel. I wrote it as a novel, so it's an easy read, but it's all authentic. It's my own journey. I've been everywhere. I've been in prison. I've been in Rolls Royce. I had my Ferrari crashed in the wall and all the rest of it. So I really. And this is all written in the book, What Happened and how I dealt with all those situations. So if you want, then you can read a sample chapter of my book. You can download it on www.marcsteinberg.com. Can you read the screen? Is it on?
No, unfortunately, the screen isn't on.
Isn't on, okay. Is it on now?
Not, unfortunately not.
Well, it's on. It's. Oh, I need to. Of course, I need to share the screen. Share screen. Okay, let me do that. Here we go. Okay, now it should be on.
Yeah, it's on.
Okay, great. Good. Next day. So you see www.marcsteinberg.com. You can go here and download a sample chapter. You can find my book Sinclair on Amazon, etc., etc. Also as an ebook. And if you're interested in awareness, I have the book Passion for Awareness. So a lot of what I was sharing today, when that resonates with you, then the philosophy of all of that is written in my second book, Passion for Awareness, also available on Amazon and so on and so forth. If you want to write me an email, you're most welcome. I always respond to emails, even if it takes a couple of days, depending on how many I receive. And if you go to www.creativeconsciousness.com, that's my company. And there you can do a 5-week free online course, video course on self-realization. You receive every week a 4-minute video recorded, presented by myself and Natalie, who is our Belgium representative of Creative Consciousness. So we did that together. You can enjoy us live. And best thing is it's for free and it gives you a real value. So you can do that if you want to do that. And yeah, maybe you can take the next question.
Marc, thank you so much for inviting us. And maybe we should try to switch on the video. The connection is better now. So please.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, run your video. Mm-hmm. And we have a very interesting question for you. The question is, have you ever done this coaching without words, with anyone? No words at all?
No, but I'm actually planning to do that. to make an experiment. You know, this is an experiment. However, the silence, the duration of silent moments is quite long. So there are really moments of 30 seconds, 45 seconds, and that's long in a coaching session of silence. And what also happens is that the coaching is done complete in a very short time. Some coaching sessions don't take longer than 15 minutes. And that's only because I listen, I'm present. The client is present because the client is infected by my presence. And there's one question. It lands, the client has all the insights, and the coaching is complete. So what you can expect from presence is a significant reduction of the time your sessions take until the client has reached their goal. And I'm up for the experiment, absolutely.
Great. So we have a lot of feedback. Thank you, Marc, for these awesome practices of awareness. I love them and will use to train my state for stronger coaching presence and life filled with awareness. So your speech is really inspiring. So a lot of thanks. So it was a great experiment. And
that's all I can wish.
Questions. So the question is, would you recommend more exercises to be present at the meeting?
Yes, absolutely. Wonderful exercise is dancing. Yeah, but the dance must be in the context of I dance in order to be fully present. Because when you are dancing just like that, you may have a good time. It's wonderful, good for you, but it's not a therapeutic dance. So go to the place where they play great music. By the way, if you can find a place where they play ecstatic dance, that's the latest thing. I do a lot of Tantra. I love Tantra. And in many, many countries in the world, ecstatic dance sessions in the cities are offered. So you go there. There are a couple of rules, like no speaking, no interacting with another, and so on and so forth. So they know what they are talking about. And then you get great, great music, and you lose yourself in the movement and the presence. So dancing is very, very good as an exercise. There are great exercises that we offer in our free 5-week video course. There are other exercises. I mean, we do a lot. We offer transformational programs. If you like the energy and come to one of our retreats, then really you get the whole thing as an essence with all the practices and exercises. If you have a specific exercise like yoga, but real yoga is also done. I love yoga. I do yoga a lot. Real yoga is done for the purpose of presence, of awareness. You know, all the asanas and the movements, they are all there in order for you to become fully present. Every authentic spiritual system, maybe not every religious intention from the organization, from the organizations, but every authentic spiritual system is having one goal. It's a here and now. It's presence, because there's no
Please switch on the video. Marc, are you with us?
Alexandra, let's wait for Marc.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry, guys. Sorry, the connection was. India is not the very best place to have a conference from. Okay, so Alexandra, please help me now where we were.
We're
because only in the here and now is life, and only where life is God. So everything we see, everything we miss is in the here and now. And that's where presence is. And that needs to be practiced. We don't get there automatically. And drugs are not an acceptable way to get there.
Okay, and we have another more question. So the question is, do you consider yourself a spiritual person? And what religion do you confess?
Yes, to the first part. However, I would need to discuss with you what you mean by spiritual person, okay? You may have some image that I wouldn't agree with when you say, okay, I put that image, what I have about a spiritual person, on you. So I cannot really answer that question. I don't have. I cannot have. Why? I studied the religions when I was young. I was interested in everything. And when you take religions and you really look at it without fear, without doubt, without fear, with a clear, open heart, then you don't need the difficult problems in the teachings. It can be much simpler. You don't need to go in states of faith and belief, because ultimately, until you have realized what the religions are talking about in yourself, it's not really getting you into a state of inquiry. Because if you believe, you are going into a concept that you are in connection with, and you hold it in yourself. But that eliminates what is absolutely required. You need to ask questions. You need to practice. You need to be a revolutionary insider and explorer. You need to find the answers. You need to find the state. And often belief is just keeping you away from that. So that's a long subject when we talk about religions. So no, I'm not part of any religion. I do respect everybody's choice. I do not convert people or try to make their religion wrong. I'm just pointing out that what I discover when we talk about awareness, presence, spirituality, and that's what I share.
Thank you so much for your answer. And we have a lot of feedback, a lot of pluses. And Eugenia shared her opinion. And Mark, you are my coach. I do yoga, I do dance. Thank you for your presentation. It was so valuable to hear it. And we also have a question. So have you ever, what else have you taken from yourself, like coach from India, for you personally?
I'm not really understanding the question well, the coach part in it. What I have taken away from India as a coach, or what else
have you taken for yourself, like coach from India, and for you personally, like a coach, and for yourself, like a person?
Well, see, I did not only study in India. That was the beginning of my journey. But I also I lived in New York, I lived in Los Angeles, and did the Western way of transformation over there. As I said, back in the 80s, when my main studies happened, we didn't use the word coaching. We had not the word win-win, but the conversations were, or the way of interaction was definitely in the context of empowering other people. So that was clear. And my training was in the West and the East. And for that, I'm very, very grateful. Because in the West, I found they are very, very powerful when it comes to manifestation. Being your word, integrity, going into action, that's awesome. You know, we know all we all know Tony Robbins, and you know how he is impacting the world with going into action. And I celebrated. I said, yes, absolutely. However, I didn't find in the West what I found in the East, which was a true connection to that, what people call God, to that, what people call nirvana, etc., etc. This crown of the tree, this extraordinary state, I personally found it in the East. And I'm not saying it's only in the East. I'm not saying that. It just was my journey. So I cannot answer a question what I took away from India because it's incomplete. What I took away from my whole journey, well, everything I am today. And the good news is the journey really is starting and accelerating, and things are just dancing and happening. So it's an adventure. It's exciting. If you make that decision, let me say that, if you make the decision that you're going to get yourself into presence, you're setting yourself up for a lot of trouble, I promise you, because it's not easy. However, there is no better goal in life, because in physics.
Yeah, in physics.
Physics. I'm not understanding the word, sorry.
Physics.
Physics.
Yeah.
No, well, the person in physics, you know, physics lives in the people that are practicing or studying or exploring, etc., etc. So let's talk about science, right? Whatever a scientist is having as a problem, and when they see that their own inner world get the scientific challenges handled, then coaching is absolutely in the place. I love Albert Einstein's saying. He said, when he was asked, if you had only 1 hour to solve the most important problem in your life, how would you go about it? And he said, I would take 55 minutes to find the right question. Because once I got the question, the right question, I can solve the problem, any problem, in 5 minutes. So for science, it is really finding the right question. And coaching can help you to find the right question.
Okay, Mark, I would like to ask you one question too, if it's possible.
Yes.
Yeah. First of all, thank you very much for a nice presentation. So you've talked a lot about presence. If we talk again about cross-culture coaching, what else helps you to coach successfully different nations in a foreign language for you? It means English. Except presence, what else makes your coaching successful in English with different nations from different countries? Thank you.
I get your question. Dimitri, I'm sorry, but I don't find anything. I don't have a trick. I don't dress up in a particular way. Of course, if I'm invited to particular cultures where a dress code is required, I would respect, sure, of course. But I don't need anything as additional tools. And I'm sure that the many great other coaches in this conference will offer many tools. I personally, authentically and honestly, I don't use tools. I just show up, present, and take on the challenge of coaching. Period.
Okay, thank you, Mark. And maybe one more question. So what would you recommend? What recommendations would you give for Russian coaches who just started to do coaching in English as a foreign language? Some of them are afraid of making mistakes, maybe not to speak English well. So what will be your top recommendation for them? Thank you.
The English, of course, needs to be on the level that communication is possible and not strenuous. You cannot expect from the client to tolerate bad English. That doesn't work. Yeah. So the coach must have the real basics in English internalized. So then, see, if I'm a client and I'm having the first interview with you being my possible coach, and you have a strong accent, I don't mind so much as long as I don't need really focus to understand you. If I need to focus to understand you, it's a lot of effort. It's not working. Yeah. But so you can have an accent, no problem. You may use simple words, no problem. It might be even good. And as a coach, you don't have to speak a lot. The more present you are, the less you need to speak. In the beginning, in the rapport creation, you speak the most. But then in the coaching itself, you listen. You listen. And then you ask a few questions that opens the door in the client to see things they haven't seen before. And here comes the breakthrough. Here comes the insight. Here is the object. The goal is achieved. Be confident. If you know what coaching is, and if you can coach, if you know that your value of listening will give you the right moment with the right question, then don't worry. Don't worry. Get your basic English under your skin so that you can speak easily, fluently. You don't need to go into poetry. You don't need to know fancy words. Be simple, but be confident and powerful, and then you're in the right way.
Thank you, Mark. Yeah, Alexander?
Mark, we have a lot of comments, a lot of feedback about your presentation. So, Svetlana, thank you, Mark. You are amazing. So we have a lot of comments like that you are an amazing speaker. And then a comment from Janara. Alexander, please send my real thank and word by word. Mark does significant work now for coaches in his presentation. I wish to have his ability to be present.
You can have that ability, go for it. Just do what we said. And maybe one day I have a chance to meet you and in one of the retreats. Just thank you. I'm very touched that this possibility was opened up, and we need presence, and we have so much beautiful potential. So everybody on the call and all the coaches in Russia, my heart beats for people who are out there making a difference. And if I can contribute with what I have to give, I'm very happy. So thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you so much. And one more comment. Mark, you're amazing. Happy to be a participant of this conversation. Thank you. A lot of thanks. No one could have said better than Mark. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Wonderful. And yeah, all the best.